Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the OU Business Podcast. I'm your host, Joel Hines, and I am so excited to be joined with Miss Gianna Snell today.
Hey, Joelle.
Hi.
I cannot believe this. I remember when you were a baby.
I know.
And now here we are.
If nobody knows, we go way back. This is nothing new for us, but I was definitely probably a lot smaller when you can remember me. But
now you're a whole woman.
I know. And we're so excited to be able to talk with her today. She is widely accomplished in what she does. And she's our first alum. She's our first alum from Oakwood University that will be able to pick her brain and kind of get her experience here at Oakwood University and how she's transformed that into being her own CEO today. So we just want to get to know you. You know, you can tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. So I am, again, Gianna Snell, and thank you again for having me.
Of course.
I'm a wife of almost 23 years. My husband's the senior pastor at Oakwood University Church and the speaker director for Breath of Life. We have 3 children together. Awesome. 16, 13, and 11.
Perfect.
I am a business owner. I own my own photography studio called Gianna Snell Photography. I've owned that particular location for about 8 years, but I've been in business for closer to 15.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a journey to get to that studio, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And I'm also the communications director at Breath of Life. So juggling a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm also just a fun-loving Jesus girl. I love to travel.
Yeah.
I love to dance. I love music. And I love just hanging out with my girls. So,
yeah. So you said you love to dance. Are there any line dances that you love?
I'm not great at line dancing.
Okay.
But whenever there's music or beat drops, I'm going to be moving.
There you go. Okay. So like we said, you are an Oakwood alum. So, let's just talk about what kind of drew you to Oakwood. You're coming out of high school, you grew up SCA. How did you come into Oakwood and what kind of made you want to choose Oakwood?
So I grew up on this campus. I didn't grow up in Huntsville, but I was always here. My dad was a pastor. So every year for camp meeting, we were here for a couple of weeks. I know you know about that. And so I was always running around. I lived in Nashville. And so Dynamic Praise, Aeolians would frequent Nashville. And so I just was drawn to the music, to the community, to the Black excellence, you know, it was just a vibe. So I just grew up running around this campus. My parents went here. My grandparents went here. They taught here. My grandfather was an accountant here. My grandmother was a librarian. So it was just a lot of history. Yeah. So even when we would come on campus, my dad would show us, that's where your grandparents live. That's where we grew up. So it just felt like this is where I'm supposed to be. Right. And not to mention my parents told me, you have to go to Oakwood for at least 1 year. Yeah. Like a lot of us had that. Like, I don't care where you go, but you have to at least go 1 year.
Right.
And once I went for a year, I loved it.
Perfect. There you go. And so what was your major coming into Oakwood?
So I was still kind of trying to figure it out. Okay. I was doing communications and photography. So I kind of teetered back and forth between journalism and communications, but I settled on journalism and photography.
Nice. So how did your experience here at Oakwood kind of shape who you are today, personally and professionally?
Man, that's a great question. It definitely shaped me spiritually. Like, I just remember there being a deep emphasis on the spiritual, which is what I needed. I didn't know what I was about to enter into, going into work, going into this world. So that spiritual foundation was critical. And so I look back to those years of going to worships, going to prayer meeting, singing with DP. Just those experiences really helped me. And then professionally, I think it really helped build relationships. When I first came here, my dad just knew people from being here at Oakwood. We walked on the campus and he was like, I'm going to go talk to Mr. Daly, who was then over custodial. He's like, I'm going to get you a job. And I worked there for a few months and he said, I just met a Tim Austin. He's over PR. I got you a job working in the PR department as a student. Nice. And so I learned the power of relationship because I came here like, what am I going to do? But there was a path carved for me because of the relationships. So I left here, trying to form those same relationships, and those relationships are still in my life. Yeah. There's not too many cities you can go to. Yeah. Even if you don't know the person, when you say you went to Oakwood, they're like, I know you. I know somebody in your class. And it just forms this bond that will go with you for life. Right. Mm-hmm.
So you said that relationships was a big thing. We know you see the Oakwood alum on the license plate. Yeah. People have Oakwood stickers. Alumni weekend is huge. Yes. So is there any specific relationships, maybe even a professor that kind of stick with you to this day and they had kind of a lasting impact on you?
Absolutely. So in the communications department, Patty Conwell was there, and she's still in the community, and she really helped challenge me as a writer and push me as a writer. She really inspired me. She saw me, and she was very, very encouraging. Nice. The other person was Tim Austin, who was over the PR department at the time. He just really pushed me out there. I was just there as a student intern to write a few press releases and help with the school newsletter. But he was like, no, you're going to be the photographer for the school. Recruit a team, and find some people to work under you. And I want you to travel with the Aeolians as their photographer because this is marketing for the school. And so he really pushed me out there, gave me a lot of opportunities that really set the foundation for me leaving here with a resume. Nice. Because I was able to say I led a team. Yeah. I was able to say I traveled the world. Right. Just in 2 years being here. So it was incredible. And I didn't realize what he was doing then, but it really set me up.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So can you kind of tell us about that transition from, we know you graduated, well, if you guys don't know, she said she graduated from Andrews University, but she was here with us for 2 years.
Right. And my heart was still here. I even called back and said, can I march with my class? I called the register. They were like, no, ma'am. But I was here.
But you're an honorary graduate of Oakwood University.
Thank you.
So how after graduation, can you kind of tell us about that time from post-graduation to kind of starting your first business? How did that journey go?
Ooh. Oh, man, it was a struggle. Yeah. I think I came out like I got 2 degrees, right? Got my journalism degree, got my photography degree. I was ready to take on the world. Right. My husband, we got married a few months after I graduated from Andrews. And so I was immediately moved to Columbus, Mississippi, where there's not a lot going on in the art world. Yeah. So we're there, and I'm looking for jobs in photography because I always thought I was just going to have a job. I hadn't grown up seeing a lot of Black and brown women owning photography studios. Yeah. So I don't think it was really something that I thought would be something I could just jump right into. So I was just looking for a job as a photographer at a school or at a newspaper or something like that. And nothing came through. I could not find work. So I ended up finding something at Sears Portrait Studio at the mall in Columbus, Mississippi. Gotcha. Making $7 an hour. Wow. And I was like, what is happening with my life? Yeah. Right? I have 2 degrees and I'm here working minimum wage. Right. This is not it. This is not what I went to school for. Right. And so I remember working there, capturing families, doing the thing. And I remember one day my manager came up and she was just like, why are you here? She's like, you are overqualified for this job. You could own your own studio. Why are you here? And I was just like, I really don't know. I remember calling my dad one day and I was just like, this is frustrating because I was there for over a year, just chugging away. Right. And even though you may make a good sale, you're still making your $7 an hour. And so it just felt, you just felt that ceiling and that cap. But long story short, I just remember talking to my dad and he said, you know what? This is just extra tuition. And there were some things I needed to learn even after school ended about how to sell about how to work with difficult clients, about how to show up even when you're not motivated. And I think there are those days where I was in there just photographing children who didn't want to be photographed. Yeah. I was learning how to sell to parents and how to upsell and do all of those things that I would need to do in my studio, but that I hadn't learned in my degree. I learned the skill, but I didn't learn how to sell. I didn't learn how to network, how to work with people, and how to work through difficult situations. And so after he said that, it kind of reframed it for me. And I realized like I was there for a reason. And to this day, I still use the skills that I learned at Sears Portrait Studio. And so it was rough. Like, girl, where'd you go after college? What's your job? Sears Portrait Studio. But it was indeed tuition, and I would not give it up for anything. I learned a lot at that job.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so for any students who may be watching and graduating and thinking, what is my next step going to be? I think that's an amazing point that you brought up, that sometimes you just need to get out there. It may not be what you envisioned for yourself. It may not be the top tier job that you're going to end up with one day, but those getting out there and just getting somewhere and learning those skills, it's going to be way more valuable than you thought.
Way more valuable.
And it may be a humbling experience, and that's okay.
Yes. Yeah.
That's okay, because one day you're going to need those humbling skills when you're a CEO, right?
Yeah. I just read a quote yesterday on Instagram where the guy was just saying, you know, a lot of times we focus on learning the craft, but we don't learn the skills around the craft. And he was just talking about networking, relationships, how to talk to people, how to push through hard days. A lot of times we don't get that until we're out in the world. We don't get that in the classroom. And so those skills are needed and necessary. And sometimes it may not look the most glamorous. But let God order your steps. You know, he knows what we need.
Perfect. I think that's great. I think that's a great inspiration that we all should move forward with.
Yeah.
So as you started Gianna Snell Photography, you know, it's a great thing. It's a great accomplishment, but we all know as entrepreneurs and just people with business expertise that there are some challenges that come with that. So what do you think were some of the first challenges you saw with opening your own photography studio?
So some of the first challenges were really just determining the timing. My husband, you know, being a pastor, I was moving around with him. So in Mississippi, I tried looking for studios and it never panned out. So I ended up working at the local newspaper and just doing the photojournalism thing, which was why I got the journalism degree. And I just want to throw that out there for a student because it's important to be as marketable as you can and not put all your eggs in one basket. And for me, photography is an art. And some people view it in a certain way. And so I was encouraged to get a double major. And so that when the photography wasn't there, I could fall back on my journalism. And so thankfully that helped me, you know, when I couldn't find the photography dream job, I went to the newspaper and I was able to pick up work immediately. So that was definitely wisdom that I was thankful that someone gave me. But the timing, every city we lived in, we went from Mississippi to Lexington. I tried and failed at opening studios there. And so some of the first lessons were don't give up. Keep trying. There was a dream in my heart about owning this studio. I knew I was supposed to be a photographer and I just kept pursuing it. It just didn't happen until we moved here to Huntsville, Alabama, which was some 15, 16 years after I graduated. I was always shooting, but the dream studio didn't come for years. And so that was one of the things was timing. Two, it was just trusting God to open the door. So I always knew that when I opened my studio and opened Gianna Snell Photography, that I wanted to be able to pay it off like the first year of my rent in full. And so I kept looking, waiting, and God's divine favor is always just like, when he says go, it's go. And so I had this amazing opportunity to photograph this YouTube family, and I was able to work for them, and they gave me a nice lump sum, and I was able to go and pay 1 year in full for my studio. And I just felt God just ordering my steps. He moved a friend of mine who was an interior designer, architect, that same weekend that I was looking at this tiny space, it was 500 square feet. It was just concrete floors and steel walls. And I'm just like, this is tiny. I don't know how to make it work. And I showed it to a friend of mine who happened to be visiting that weekend.
Yeah.
And she was just like, oh, girl, let me sketch this out for you. Your dressing room is here.
Yeah.
This is where the makeup artist will be.
Yeah.
This is your shooting. And she just made that thing come alive in a way that I couldn't see.
Right.
And so there were just ordered steps where God was like, it's time. It's time. And so I just think that's important because a lot of times we try to force the time and say, this is my time. This is my year.
Right.
But for me, that wasn't the journey. God had to take me through certain steps. And now I look back on it like if I had gotten the studio 1 year, 5 years before, I wouldn't have been ready for it because it was a big jump for me. So I just realized God's timing is perfect. And when he says go, he's going to provide everything you need to be able to make that jump.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love how you talk about, sometimes the right time isn't in you. It's from what the Lord will give you.
Yeah.
And I love that because, sometimes we kind of want to move on our own schedule. We're like, this is, as young people, sometimes we have this whole plan for our life, right? Absolutely. It's like, oh, I'm about to go into college. I'm going to get this degree. I'm going to have this job. I'm going to get married at this time, have kids here, buy this house. And sometimes, you learn that God's timing is what you need to follow. And that's when you realize that's the time that you need to say go. Yeah. And I love that you said when he places it on your heart, you need to kind of not be shaken, not be scared, but just trust in him and just move with that. So absolutely. I think that's an important lesson we need to take. Yeah. So let's see. We talked about the lessons, the challenges, but is there any mistakes that you made kind of early on and it kind of flipped a switch and you're like, okay, I won't do that again. Or you kind of took that and you're like, let me not do that again.
There's so many. I'll mention two quick ones. Okay. One is for me, and I don't know how many business majors are going to be working one-on-one with clients, but one important lesson for me was learning to educate my clients on the front end.
Gotcha.
So one situation I had was the people sometimes will need a shoot quickly, especially like seniors graduating. Right. So this was one of those situations. Oakwood graduate. We need these pictures quickly. So we just booked the shoot. There had been no education on the pricing, the process or anything. We did the shoot. Come back to my home office to do the reveal and select their photos. And that was their first time seeing the pricing. And it wasn't like this high pricing, but it was just they didn't know.
Correct.
And they felt a way about that.
Yeah.
And they let me know. They sent a nice little email with all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And it was, it stung so bad. Yeah. Because I just, I felt like the product was good. But again, we're going back to those relationships surrounding the craft. Right. Got good pictures, but the experience wasn't great. Right. And so I learned from that day on, I don't care if we're shooting later tonight. I'm going to send you this pricing list. Yeah. And then we'll confirm, then we'll go forward. Because a lot of times people just, they push you and you just feel like, let me educate my clients.
Right.
So that was a very painful but important lesson. The second one was, again, around pricing.
Yeah.
To not be the first one to speak after I share my pricing. So one time I was working with some clients who were also friends, and they had been educated on the process. But as we were totaling up their total for their order, I told them, I'm just make up a number. The total is $800.
Right.
And they just kind of looked at each other. And then I just started saying, well, I can discount it. We can do a payment plan. And they were like, okay, a payment plan. Okay. And then I said, I'll give you a discount. I'll knock off $150. And then they were still looking at each other, and I knocked down some more money. And then I got down to maybe $200 off, and the man ran out to his car and paid right away. But I just had like this gut punching feeling in my stomach because I realized, one, they already had the money.
Yeah.
That wasn't the issue. And I talked to someone after and they said, the first one to talk after you share the price loses. And so now I've learned the price is $800.
Right.
And I just wait.
Right. There you go.
I just let the other person deal with it, assess it, learn how to, figure out how to make themselves come. Or, we all do math in our head when we find out a price, like move this over, let me do that. That's not my issue. Right. They've been educated. This is the total.
Right.
Let me let them work it out.
Right.
Because the more I talk myself out of my price, then I'm out here losing money,
Yeah.
And a lot of times they have it.
Right.
Studies show that people can spend up to 30% more than what they say their budget is.
Right.
And here I am knocking. I've never done that again.
Yeah.
I always just say it, or I deliver the pricing on a sheet and I sit quietly.
Yeah.
And I just let them come to grips with it.
That's awesome.
And that was another painful lesson. But anytime I feel it in my gut, man, that thing hits me. It stings. I write it down and I say, let me adjust. I've always been kind of like a shy, not a salesy type person. So it was hard for me to just, work with people one-on-one and friends to say, this is my price. Because a lot of times friends and family.
Right. Want the discount.
Yeah. And it can be tough working with your people. But I've learned this is the price. Let me know if you want to move forward or if this is a good fit.
I love it.
If not, it's okay. It's not a rejection of me. It just depends on what that person values at the time. So,
right. Yeah. That's good. That's really good. So I kind of want to ask, touching on that, how did you kind of find your confidence and to know that this is my value? What I have is valuable. These pictures that I'm taking are valuable. My time is valuable. How did you kind of come into the entrepreneurial confidence?
Man, that's such a good question. I remember the moment.
Yeah.
I was reading an article because I always struggled with that. Just like, well, it's just a digital picture and, it's just a 8x10. How can I charge, So I remember reading this article and the woman said, it's more than paper. It's not just an 8x10. It's a memory that a lot of people value. And two, she said, how much would you price an hour away from your family? What's the value you would put on that? And at that time I had young children. Yeah. And as you know, and many know, we had a journey to have those children.
Yeah.
We lost 4. And so having my babies, I was a stay-at-home mom trying to run my business. But what is an hour away from your family worth? And I was like, well, it's worth more than $25. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I started looking at it that way and saying, this is an hour away from my family. This is an hour away from my children. This is an hour away from what I value most. What is the value I put on that? And from that point on, I have not been shaken from my prices. I've had people come up to me. Do you know you're the highest price photographer in town? I do.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Right.
Yeah. I knew in my heart that I was a luxury photographer. Right. That's what I wanted to do. Right. I wanted people who wanted an experience to come in. We take care of everything. Right. The makeup, the hair, like just come and relax. We got you.
That's awesome.
And so I take my time with my clients. I don't rush them. When they come in and they leave, they're like, this was an experience. Yeah. I felt seen and I felt like, this was just for me. So
awesome.
It was a journey getting there, but once I got it, it finally took.
Awesome. Yeah. That's good. I love, being able to take pride in your company and what you do. And it has your name on it. Yeah. So you are the reflection of it. And when people leave, they say, I had that experience from Miss Gianna Snell. That's awesome. So we know that you are a mother, a wife. So kind of tell us, how do you sound very busy, very accomplished, very busy. So how do you kind of balance your personal and your work life?
Girl. It's a daily leaning on God. I cannot say that I have it all balanced and that every day everything is balanced. It's not.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I learned from listening to the seasoned women around me is that you can't have it all, but you can have it all, but you can't have it all right now. And so there was a season for me just being a homeschooling mom, being at home with the kids, not taking a lot of work, not making a lot of money. Yeah. My nails weren't done. My hair wasn't done. Yeah. I didn't go shopping. Yeah. I was pouring myself into those babies. Yeah. You know, there was a season where I had a stretch before COVID where I was making 6 figures at my studio and just things were blowing up and vibing. Yeah. Then there's been seasons after COVID where I was like, oh, Jesus, how are we going to pay this? How are we going to pay the studio rent? You know, it's just real. And there are seasons to all of it. But I have learned that the key is, God, what do I need to focus on today? You know, and God will just illuminate it and say, those babies need you today. You know, put the work aside. It can wait. Let's focus on them. I had a day this week where I locked in and I was like, I'm going to stay home all day. And I'm going to knock out these emails, invoices, and I just had a business catch-up day because I just needed to get it done. Right. And so God has just been showing me, this is what needs your attention today, whether it's my marriage, whether it's my parents, whether it's me, you know, going to get a massage or just going to just take a drive and take some breaths and get a little something from Starbucks. Yeah. Just woosah. But he tells me what to focus on each day. And so that's what gives me a semblance of balance, because at least I can go to bed knowing the top 2 or 3 things that needed to be balanced or that needed to be done were done. The rest of it can wait.
I love that. I love that. And it shows how intentional you are with walking with God and just your purpose in life, you know, in every season, every different, every different stage that you're in, you're walking with God. And I think that's so important. And I love that. Thank you. And so we know we're adding on to the list of the things that Miss Gianna Snell does here. So you are the host of the Girls Night In podcast. Yeah. So can you kind of tell us how that came about and what kind of inspired you? What was you guys' mission for Girls Night In?
Yeah, so working at Breath of Life has been amazing. We've been there almost 5 years, and just seeing all of the different programming and podcast topics and different things was incredible. And so we had started this Friday night series where we were, you know, talking about relationships. My husband and I were doing that. We had one on for entrepreneurs called Vision Lab. And we were just doing different conversations. And as we looked at the demographic of Breath of Life for our supporters, our donors, our watchers, it was at least 60% women, but we didn't have any content that was directly for women. And we were like, oh no, we got to speak to our people. Yeah. There are women out there who are supporting this ministry and we need something just for them. And so we decided to kick off Girls Night In. And it has been an amazing experience coming together with other women of all ages. You know, we have 60-year-olds, we have college students, and we're just talking about health, about relationships and dating. We're talking about respect and just all different types of topics that women want to chat about. Right. And I like the feel of it because it's Girls Night In. Like, it's just get your popcorn, get your tea, you know, put on something cute and let's just sit down and talk, which is what girls do already. Right. And so I feel like we wanted to bring that to the forefront and bring something just for women. And the women have been responding in an incredible way. So one day we hope to take it on the road and be able to just do Girls Night In different cities. I love that. And hold girls events. Yeah. So looking forward to that.
Well, you guys heard it here first. If Girls Night In goes on tour, you guys have to secure your ticket because I will be getting my ticket.
And we got to bring you because you're amazing on camera.
There we go. So you might see me there, a little cameo. So as we kind of talk about how you're such an inspiration for our college students, can you kind of talk to our students who may be watching on some advice that you want to share with them if they're thinking about pursuing anything in business or just a career? What are some professional tips and also personal tips if you can give some as well?
Okay. So one that might sound kind of basic, but I would say dress the part, you know. Go ahead and carry yourself in that business professional way. Yeah. There have been several students who have come to my studio who have been amazing as interns, but then there have been some students who've come through and I was shocked at how they showed up for an interview. You know, bonnets, do-rags, like leggings, slipper, like, what are we doing? Yeah. And so I want to encourage the students to just be professional. Right. It makes a difference. Right. That's your calling card. Yeah. That's the first thing people see. Right. And so a lot of times it may feel like, oh, just know my character, know my skills. But the first thing they're going to take away is how you carry yourself. Correct. And one of the things I love about Oakwood, like you just see that Black excellence just oozing out from the students. Every time I come on campus, I just see a lot of people who are just carrying themselves in a positive way. But there's always that handful that need a little extra encouragement and nudge. Yeah. Hey, this is an interview. Yeah. And they may have been skilled, but because they showed up that way, they missed out on an opportunity. Right. And so I would just say that. The other thing is just be prepared that your dream job may not happen day one after you graduate. And I think that's a myth and something we've all expected. And sometimes it does happen for a lot of people. But then there are some of us who have to take the stairs and not the elevator. Yeah. And so, but there's so many things you learn. You get stronger going the stairs. And so for some of those who may find it like, okay, I've graduated. It's been 6 months. It's been a year. It's been 2 years. I'm doing stuff, but it's not what I graduated for. Right. Trust God and continue to hold on to the dream that he gave you. Yeah. It's kind of like the story of Joseph. Like the dream was there, but there was a journey that got him there. But once he got there, I think he knew like, okay, the enemy meant it for evil, but God truly set me up for good. And that's my testimony. Yeah. Everything that I've accomplished or everything that I had to wait for with our children, with our home, with my business. Everything was a wait. But I wouldn't trade it for anything because it made me appreciate it more. And it helps me know that the relationship that I developed with God in the waiting room has helped keep me in the hard seasons of my business, awesome. In parenting and in home ownership and in everything that God has given me. So, it doesn't always come easy, but it will come. Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So as we kind of wrap up as of now, if there is probably one thing you can think of that you would go back and tell your college self, what would you tell her?
I would tell her, you can do it. I didn't really see a lot of Black women owning a studio. I knew of like Ann Geddes, who used to shoot the babies, photograph the babies. And I knew of like National Geographic photographers and Ansel Adams, but I had never seen it done. But there was this dream in my heart and there was this longing that would not quit until I got in the studio, got a makeup artist, got women dressed up and captured them and made them feel amazing. And so there are a lot of business owners who are called into something that may be new, that maybe you haven't seen anybody do. And the enemy or critics or your family may be like, what are you doing? Go the traditional route. Go with what you know. Don't go with what you know. Go with what God is calling you to do. Yeah. If he put that dream there, he's responsible for bringing it to pass. Yeah. That verse, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him and he will make your path straight. Yeah. So even if there are certain things that feel off, that feel crooked, that feel unknown, God is responsible for making your path straight and for giving you success. Yeah. So just stay on the path and know that even if you haven't seen it, people don't understand what your dream is. Just go for it. Yeah. Just do it. He's the architect of it and he'll make it come to pass.
Awesome. I don't know if you guys watching are inspired, but I am. I think just listening to your testimony and your story has kind of inspired me to walk with the Lord and just trust in him. So I hope you guys have taken what Miss Snell has said and you guys are going to apply that to your life. If you're a student, just know that, things may not always be easy as you're a current student or as you graduate, but just trust in the Lord and trust in your dream and your vision that's been placed on your heart.
Yes. Amen. That's it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it as our first Oakwood alum.
Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure. And may I say, you are an amazing host.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So yes, guys, if you guys are watching, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you can go in the comments and just tell us what is one thing that stuck out to you with this episode and what's one thing that you're going to lead with. So thank you so much for watching, and please tune into our next episode on the OU Business Podcast. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of the OU Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. The OU Business Podcast is produced in part by the Business and Information Systems Department of Oakwood University. For more information about the School of Business and Oakwood University, visit www.oakwood.edu.